Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be reacting to Aztecross's 20 biggest changes launching in the Edge of Fate because I don't know what's going on entirely, and Aztecross got you, and I'm going to react to it.
Fellas, tomorrow is finally the day. Edge of Fate will be launching, which will mark the start of a brand new multi-year saga inside of Destiny 2.
Multi-year
this
saga
is going to be
is
shaping the foundations for the game forever. And there's a lot happening with this update. And if you haven't been keeping up with all of the reveals, no worries. Today, we're going to be going over the 20 biggest changes arriving in Edge of Fate tomorrow. So without further ado, let's begin. Starting with number 1, content delivery. This is arguably the biggest change coming this year. You see, unlike previous years, Destiny's content rollouts this year will be smaller, but more frequent. Instead of one major expansion a year, followed by 3 to 4 seasons, instead, we're going to be receiving 2 medium-sized expansions each year, with a free major update positioned between each expansion. So the way this is going to work is Edge of Fate will be launching tomorrow. Then come September, we're going to have Ash and Iron. The next expansion after that will be Renegades. This is going to be around December.
I know that information about September.
Star Wars inspired DLC. And then finally, March 2026, we will have Shadow in Order. Now, the major updates are going to be free to all players.
Genuinely, I did.
They're going to include things such as new and reprised activities, new sandbox metas, new events, new modifiers, and challenges, as well as new gear.
They always say new sandbox metas, but it's like 3 tweaks.
We're actually going to be returning to the Plague
You ever notice that?
Now, for my sweet little new lights that don't know anything about the Plague Lands, this was a location back inside of Destiny 1 that came to us in the Rise of Iron expansion. Now, in Ash and Iron, we're going to be getting a brand new type of game mode that Bungie said we have not seen yet. This one is going to be called Reclaim. We'll also be getting a new exotic mission, 2 new exotic weapons, new gear, new pinnacle ops, as well as an epic raid.
For a new exotic mission,
in Edge of Fate, that's essentially what we're going to be covering throughout this entire video. I just wanted to give you the layout of the content we're going to be getting over the next year, and I really do hope it lands. Taking us to change number 2, a new saga. Edge of Fate is going to be the very beginning of a brand new saga within Destiny called the Fate Saga. The next 2 expansions that will be arriving in 2026 are Shattered Cycle, which will be in summer 2026, and then in the winter of 2026, the Alchemist. Story-wise, we know that initially it's going to be heavily focused on the 9. The catalyst for this story is that the emissary of the 9, who is Orin, decides to quit, and the 9 are looking for replacements. Now, we don't really know who that may be. Maybe it's us, maybe it's Lodi, or someone else is up for speculation. Now, we also know that there's going to be links to the 1950s and Chicago, which is extremely interesting. No lie, the collector's edition here recently just went out, and dude, the lore is getting crazy. Supposedly, Graviton Lance was the weapon that killed John F. Kennedy. The speculation is that it was Lodi who did it.
Wait, what?
Crazy, I know. To say we're in uncharted territory is an understatement. Change number 3. We're getting a new destination, and with it, abilities and puzzles. Edge of Fate is bringing a new destination, that being Kepler. Now, this destination is being pitched to us as a destination different from any we've ever experienced. It's been inspired by Metroidvania titles, featuring a non-linear campaign, meaning you're not forced to complete a selection of missions.
But genuinely, anybody want to be Sonic the Hedgehog in Destiny 2? I don't.
Or you could do side quests, talk to different characters, or just explore at your own pace. Now, similar to the final shape, the destination will unlock more as you explore and complete missions. In fact, exploration throughout Kepler will be pretty much the key feature of the destination, with many puzzles and secrets that we'll need to complete to progress, and more that you can just find by just exploring. Now, to solve these puzzles and secrets, we will be given dark matter abilities. These will be locked to Kepler's destination and will include Matter Morph, Void Relocator Cannon, and Matter Spark. That's right, baby. Fellas, we could turn into a ball. Now, look, we've memed on this thing, and I hope it's going to be good, because Bungie shows us this damn ball every chance they get. Now, as far as the Void Relocator Cannon, it's similar to a Scorch Cannon, but you shoot and ricochet off specific targets to bypass. I do not want a person to be Sonic the Hedgehog, but you can't through this thing. I've already tried. Mattermorph allows us to telekinetically control objects. This is going to replace our melee ability with this Strand Shuriken that we'll use to throw at glowing objects to shift their position in space. And we'll use this to create platforms and unlock areas of the map. And when you throw these at enemies, they also deal damage and suspend them. Now, Bungie mentioned that they intentionally designed these puzzles with sequence breaking in mind. The more you upgrade your abilities, the more options you have at your disposal to solve these puzzles in unique ways. Now, change number 4. In terms of activities, one of the features that many folks are looking forward to is the inclusion of world tiers. Now, this is going to change the difficulty of the campaign and the world we play in, which is Kepler. We have our Brave difficulty, which is your normal mode. We have Legendary difficulty, which many of us tackle tackle day 1 so we can get the exotic that's associated with our class. But then, once you've completed this, it opens up more difficulty options. The next 2 difficulties will be Fabled and Mythic. Now, we saw this a few weeks ago. Fabled was set at 150 power, but gives you a 3 times reward multiplier. There's also a bunch of different modifiers and combatant adjustments, such as Multiplicity, Galvanize, Scourge 1, and Metal, which is the most interesting one as it caps players' power at 30 below. So think of this as almost like contest mode. Now, in a recent interview with Milo and Robbie Stevens, it was mentioned that Fable was going to feel more like a Nightfall in terms of difficulty, whereas Mythic would feel around the same difficulty as Master. But he did mention that the jump from Legendary to Fabled is not as big as the jump from Fabled
This is probably cool for my Nightfall enjoyers.
Difficulty equals better loot.
A lot of people in the community complaining about activities not being too challenging,
such as a quest on Mythic difficulty, which is going to
I think it's a good change for my Nightfall enjoyers. I'm not a Nightfall enjoyer.
I love little things that are like
so this doesn't appeal to me.
These guys giving us more
I
reasons
I feel
to
about
hit
100%, but
outside of just the one time.
You guys let me know.
Change
I think it's a good change overall.
We are getting a raid, but also an epic
obviously.
raid. Now, an epic raid is essentially going to be the same raid that we're getting in Edge of Fate, but it's going to drop in Ash and Iron. And the way that it was explained to me was almost like a Pantheon-style rework to these raid encounters. Now, what I mean by that, it's still going to be the same raid. It's still going to be the same consecutive order of encounters.
Dude,
but if you remember
Pantheon,
for instance, roll.
Oh my God,
Bungie decided to give us not one, but 2
best
rolls.
memory
They
2024.
take the original raid encounters,
playing against Aztecross in this challenge,
they give us some new
and
mechanics,
beating them by like a split second.
Times. They change the encounters
Look
up
at
a bit, and on top of this, we're also supposed to get more narrative and lore with
I'm
these
not even a
epic
PvE
raids.
lover,
Now, in
but
the recent interview
that
with
made me a
Robbie and
PvE
Mr.
lover.
Waffles, Milo did ask about the epic raid, and Robbie describes it as
Double roll.
permeating
Give
the
me that, give
original
me
raid.
that.
Things like challenges
Just
that
bring it
cover
back
the
for the
entire
one
raid
time.
or specific encounters. He also says to think of this as a part 2 to the raid, as the changes do relate to that story and the lore. I hope it's good, guys. I will say I am intrigued, but I really do hope Bungie
I would say I'm
mixes
intrigued,
things
but that
up.
would
It's
just be
a little crazy.
a fabrication
Change
because
6,
I don't
something
really
you have probably heard
pay attention to the
over
lore
and
as much
over
as you
that
gamers.
Bungie is so proud of the portal. In the Edge of Fate, our destination menu
Neutral
is
on
no
that
more.
opinion.
I mean, it's still there, but it's not going to be added to in the future. Instead, what we have is this new menu called the portal, which puts all of our activities into categories, allowing you to hop right into a game mode fairly quickly based on what you're looking for. We have solo ops, fire team ops, pinnacle ops, and cruise
Why does
ops.
this look so
Now, what this aims to do is to get people into playing the game
not
faster
Destiny,
instead of clicking
like,
through multiple
I don't know.
destinations to find what you need to
Isn't-
do. Rewards are also now
The only reason it
visible,
looks like
meaning if
Destiny
you're
is
trying to
'cause of
hunt
the
for a
3
specific item,
characters
you
in the
simply
back. Am I
sift through
right?
the activities until you
I don't know
find
if
it. And the other beautiful thing
I
is
genuinely
there
don't know
are
if I
no
like this.
reward caps like we've had in previous years with pinnacle rewards.
I mean, I gotta give them
Meaning
props
we
for at least
could
changing it
farm
up, you know?
forever. Now, speaking of rewards, we also have the ability to modify the activities
Oh.
themselves. You can either grant yourself buffs or even debuffs, and this can affect your multiplier and therefore affect the reward you
Who's
get at
playing
the end
Empire
of it.
Hunts
I
in
know
the year
not many people are
2025?
that excited about the portal. I wish
Like, who
Bungie could
is?
just
Come
do
on.
a system that involves both.
Nobody's excited
but
for
without a
Empire
doubt, the
Hunts.
portal is something that
Okay,
they
that might be a lie.
heavily
Maybe you
invested
guys
in,
are, and I
this
am
is
not.
the future of what Destiny is going to look like. Change number 7. Tiered loot.
Tiered
That's
loot.
right, guys.
This is a
Bungie
big
is
change.
giving us a
Big
tier
change.
system. You see, Bungie has
Whoa,
chosen tiered
whoa,
loot
look
as
at
their
that.
solution.
Oh my goodness, look at all these perks. The dopamine rush, I can't even explain. Lone Wolf, Sword Logic, I don't know what the other, tap the trigger. A corkscrew enhanced. Whoa, 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 whoa. All of these are enhanced. I just realized. My brain can't compute.
To solve reward scaling
What's going on here?
inside of Destiny. All of the new legendary weapons and armor that's earnable in the Edge of Fate will take
Okay, this is pretty
advantage
cool.
of this new system. Now, to
It's
put it
pretty cool.
simply, gear will drop with an icon indicating its tier, and this will range from tier 1 to tier 5, and this would depend on the difficulty of the activity that you're tackling. Now, as the gear tier increases, you will gain more benefits like enhanced traits, cosmetic
Oh my
upgrades,
God.
more stats, kill effects, etc.
is
However, don't
massive
expect
change.
to earn the maximum tier rewards right out the gate. Higher tiers will require considerable grind. For instance, we may not even be able to acquire tier 5 gear until several weeks into the expansion.
Several
The benefits
weeks?
will most definitely be worth it.
Several weeks. Oh my. Stretched out content. Am I right? Am I right? Okay, okay.
Which takes us to change number 8, featured gear. All new weapons and armor will now be marked with a blue tag indicating that they are part of the featured loot pool. Now, featured weapons will receive an intrinsic damage buff, and featured armor will receive intrinsic damage resistance. Now, this buff will scale based off the tier of the gear in question. So, for instance, tier 5 for a weapon will max out at 10% extra damage, and tier 5 armor will max out at
damage resistance in
15%
PvP.
damage resistance. Now, featured gear doesn't
Let's go
just
for
include
free?
new loot.
Oh
Some of our
my.
current exotics have also been added to this new featured gear list.
See, I don't
These
know
are
how I feel about these symbols. Like, they're all like... it gives it a new feeling, so it feels fresh, but it really just is like a logo stamped on it.
Or hand-selected by the developers to align somewhat loosely with the proposed meta for the next 6 months.
It does
now,
help.
despite not being tiered, based on some of the footage we've seen during the dev live stream, it appears that featured exotics will behave as if they were tier 5 and receive the maximum possible bonus, meaning they themselves should be powerful on day 1 in terms of more damage resist and dealing more damage. Now, keep in mind, this does not mean your exotic armor pieces here are tier 5. Remember, exotic armor pieces are actually going to be capped out at tier 2, and we won't see that update hit exotics until sometime next year. So when I say tier 5, I just mean it has the damage resist and extra damage that a tier 5 should have. Granted, we'll be doing testing on this just to make sure. The point is that Bungie's intention with new gear is to create a list of loot new players know that they should both acquire and use. Now, some hardcore players are of course concerned that the new gear bonuses may be too strong. This is just one of those things, guys. We're just gonna have to wait and see. At the end of the day, your old god rolls will still be effective in the new sandbox. However, towards the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing tier 5 weapons outclass even god roll tier 3s. Now, change number 9. Fellas, we have a load of new gear that's coming tomorrow. First off, we've got a few new exotic weapons. The 3rd iteration, which is a Void Scout rifle.
I'm not really interested in that one.
You might Marking and defeating targets with this weapon will grant the user invisibility. We've got Graviton Spike, which is the first exotic hand cannon
150 by the way
since Hawkmoon back in 2020, which is kind of hilarious because at one time it seemed like Bungie couldn't stop giving us exotic hand cannons. Now, this one is going to be obtainable via the exotic quests. It has the ability to shoot both stasis and arc energy, and dare I say, might be one of the sexiest weapons I have ever seen. Then the new Desert Perpetual Raid will also drop a new exotic weapon, but at the moment, of course, we don't have any information about this weapon.
I'm glad it's a 150.
Data miners are getting nuked. It's a good chance we won't know. Now, each class will receive a new piece of exotic armor. Warlocks are getting a pair of gauntlets called Eunoia that will make Hellion projectiles more potent. Hunters are getting a chest piece called Morai, which grants their melee the ability to detonate and retrieve
Might be good for PvP.
Titans are getting a pair of gauntlets called Melis Panoplia. Probably killing that name.
Titan George, this is big for you.
The power to finally summon your throwing hammer. About damn time. Now, all of these exotics will be earnable via completion of the Edge of Fate legendary campaign. So highly advise doing the legendary campaign, guys, to get these guaranteed exotics. Now, if you like an in-depth look at each of these, we do have a full breakdown linked in the description below. We did get to play with them earlier this year, and we even have a mix of some of the gameplay here that Benny provided, so feel free to check that out. Now, a new archetype and a few new weapon frames will be spicing up the legendary weapon loot pool. First up, we have a spread shot hand cannon. Guys, it's a hand cannon that shoots like a shotgun. Think of it as like a sawed-off shotgun. Great at close range, but weak at distance.
I did not
know about this. It also has the ability to roll with shotgun perks. Things like 1-2 punch, which is really interesting to see on a hand cannon. Next up, we have the first ever crossbow. This is going to be a heavy weapon that allows you to literally pick up your bolts after you shoot it. Meaning, theoretically, you could have infinite ammo as long as you can
I know mouse and keyboard enjoyers might like this more than controller players.
Sounds terrifying. Now, in a
let me know in the comments. Are you guys good with bows on controller? Because I'm not.
Another new bow archetype called the high-impact longbow. Think of this as almost like Wishender, but legendary. It sports a longer, high-powered draw with over-penetrating arrows that are able to shoot multiple enemies at once. Now, finally, we have the rocket-assisted pulse rifle. This is arguably going to be the best weapon in the sandbox, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a pulse rifle, but it shoots out a 3-round burst of high-damage rockets. From what we have seen in the gameplay, fellas, it puts out a ton of damage, which is probably going to be the first weapon we jump on first
more of a
for
PvE
Change number 10, armor and stat reworks. Funny enough, new armor and Edge of Fates will also be receiving archetypes as well. You see, armor stats are being renamed to better reflect what they actually change, and Bungie has reworked to scale stat benefits. The first time ever, you will have the ability to stack your stats from 0 to 200. Yes, you heard that right. 200. Keep in mind, currently in the game now, you can only go up to 100. Well, you can go beyond that, but it doesn't give you any benefits. Now you're actually going to get benefits. Now, our new armor stats are going to be health, melee, grenade, super class, and weapons. And if you're wondering why they're changing the names of these, it's to stupid-proof things. You see what I'm saying? Somebody looks at discipline, they go, what is this? Despite seeing a grenade icon next to it. Now you'll know that grenade means grenade. Weapons means weapons. And melee means melee. And these stats will be distributed based on an armor's archetype, though. As you can see, each archetype will have a primary and a secondary stat. These will be the highest stat categories present on an armor piece. Now, a randomly selected tertiary stat will also be selected contained obtaining the remaining available stat points. The number of stats present on an armor piece is determined by its tier, with tier 5 being the best. Additionally, you can masterwork all armor and tune tier 5s to further increase the amount of stats present in specific categories. In addition to new stats, our new armor will now also offer set bonuses, providing us another layer of build crafting. So if you choose to run 2 to 4 pieces of the same armor sets, you'll see tangible benefits to your build. The main takeaway for this, guys, is that we are going to do everything we can to get that quad 200. It's probably not going to be possible, but we're going to try, man. If we can make that work,
I'm curious to see how, like,
sexy. And the benefits.
D2 armor picker and dim loadout optimizer helps with this, because that's what I've been using essentially for the past at least like 2 years. I know I wasn't using it for a while in the beginning of Destiny. I don't know when it was launched, but it helps me out a lot. Get at least triple or even close to quad 100s. I know with the tonics I had quad 100s, especially on my warlock, not on my hunter. So we'll see how this plays out, especially with those 2 engines helping out a ton. So we'll see how long it takes to get the double 200s or whatever builds that are going to be absolutely dominating in PvE, and then mainly for me, Trials of Osiris or any other Crucible game modes.
Are absolutely amazing, as you can get things like increased melee damage, which is a multiplicative 30% buff at 200, or increased weapon damage, both against minors, majors, and bosses at higher stats, or an outright increase to super damage by stacking these stats. The point is, guys, going beyond 100 is going to be worth it. Farming armor is going to be something we are all going to be doing in this next sandbox. Change number 11. Now, with the addition of a melee stat that will now increase damage if above 100 points are allocated, Bungie has neutered melee damage stacking. Now, we have an entire video on this already, and we discussed these changes in great depth.
Don't know if I'm going to check that one out because I'm not a melee lover in PvE.
TLDR is that melee damage buffs will no longer stack multiplicatively. Well. From now on, all melee buffs, excluding the melee stat buff, will be additive, and Bungie is increasing the percentage increase in damage of all melee buffs to compensate for this. Now, to put it in simplest terms, if you spec into melee, your base melee damage is going to receive a substantial increase next expansion, but the more damage buffs you stack, the more you're going to see diminishing returns when compared to the current sandbox. Essentially, Bungie is raising the floor but lowering the ceiling for melee damage in Edge of Fate. Now, obviously, this does hurt some builds out there, primarily the ones that have multiple stacking buffs, but for builds like Wishful Ignorance and Fletched Storm, things that are just taking advantage of single buffs, this is going to do phenomenally well in the next sandbox. Now, glaive melee attacks have been updated as well to register as unpowered melees, but they will now be able to take advantage of melee-based perks. The glaive melee will now trigger all effects that are currently activated by any melee ability, and because of these changes, our overall glaive melee damage is being nerfed quite a considerable amount. Glaive melee damage against minors and majors has been reduced by 40%, and glaive melee damage against champions and mini-bosses has been reduced by 28.5%. And glaive melee damage against bosses and vehicles has been reduced by 50%. Area. Now, I know you may be looking at this thinking, wow,
it actually made just killed playing glaives. Midtown
but
fun
in our
for
melee
once,
testing, at least our theoretical numbers, legendary glaives are actually
even though it was in PvP.
Good. We'll have to build into it a bit more, but I wouldn't write them off yet.
I enjoyed playing
and even
Midtown.
Winterbite, I'm not completely writing it off on the off chance that despite its nerf,
I thought it was somebody. I thought it was something else on the screen for a second.
Bungie does. Change number 12. With the new update also means a new seasonal artifact.
Let's see if this affects PvP as well.
All of the artifact mods arriving in Edge of Fate. Bungie showed this off in the TWA most recently. Everything here is very much stacked towards solar, stasis, and strand, as well as precision-based weapons, which is why many of the builds we've been recommending here lately have been surrounding those elements. At the same time, though, we are going to be getting additional rows inside of Ash and Iron. Similar to what we just received here recently with episodes this past year, we will be getting additional artifact mods throughout the season. And if it's anything like episodes, those additional mods definitely start to cook further and further as they have a limited amount of time to sit in our sandbox. Now, we are not going to be receiving a full artifact refresh until Renegades. These artifact mods that you see here on your screen, guys, that's it, baby. For the next 6 months, these are your mods. Welcome to Death.
No, this is a bad, like, couldn't just refresh it every 3? Like, I think the community been fine with 3. 6 is just too much, man. I hope they change that up a bit. Or listen to feedback, because I think it's way too long. You guys let me know in the comment section. I'm a Destiny OG. This is too long, but hey, these are more PvE stuff. I still don't think it's that fun to do that for 6 months, but you guys let me know in the comment section.
Destiny. Change number 13. Guys, we have a ton of exotic changes.
All right, let's get into
Bungie is
it.
taking a pass our exotic weapons and armor, and their goal was to give more flair to our underperforming options. Some of the standout ones are things like Actium War Rig, which is getting a massive buff, the synergy here it's going to have, the damage buff it's going to provide to machine guns and auto rifles. We talked about it here recently for our Titan build, but this one is looking absolutely juice. Wicked Implements is another exotic weapon
Orange
that's
juice.
getting an entire archetype
Cranberry
change,
juice.
going from a 180 round per minute scout rifle to a rapid fire scout rifle. I can't
Very
stress just how good Wicked Implement is about to get. And the list goes on,
It
guys.
sounds wicked,
From
you know what I
Bastion
mean?
to
Okay, that's
Monte
cringe,
Carlo to Hierarchy of Needs, becoming the Galahorn of bows,
Bastion.
to Duality and DMT and
Duality.
Navigator. Are there some
DMT?
nerfs? Yes, but most of these
And get
are
DMT out of
buffs.
here, bro.
And
It's
even the
year
ones like
35.
Devil's Ruin, which looks to be
kidding.
both a buff and a nerf, I do believe it's going to come out and be a net positive.
Apparently, I've heard a lot of negative like stuff about Devil's Ruin on Twitter, and it got nerfed or nuked. So you guys let me know, because I heard the stats are horrible on the Devil's Ruin now.
Positive on the other side. In terms of other exotic armor pieces that are getting big updates, Dragon Shadow is about to become one of the most meta exotic armor pieces in the game inside of PvP. Oathkeepers is getting a substantial buff. Blight Ranger may actually become meta, despite the memes. Arthur's Embrace is getting a big bump in damage, as well as Liar's Handshake and the Spirit
Okay, I'm
of
not
the
a
Lion.
big
There's some
PvE guy,
other
but Liar's
noticeable
Handshake
changes
is
across
so
these
fun
other
to use if
exotics.
you're the right
For
build.
Titan's Path of Burning
saying.
Steps looks really good. Actium War Rig looks
I
really
promise I'm a
solid.
Warlock main,
Wishful
but
Ignorance is going to be
I
the
do like
one
the Hunter.
I'm really going to be focused on for melee-based builds. And for my Warlocks, Bungie is doing everything they can to make Starfire Protocol return to its former glory. Now, at the same time, most Warlocks at this point have moved on to
I feel like
Verities.
the wrong
but I'm not
raid
gonna lie,
really
guys.
nuked the Starfire Protocol. Like, after everyone saw people get the world's first in like 2 hours with Starfire, they're just like, nope, get this exotic tuned down ASAP Rocky.
I'm intrigued. Starfire Protocol at one time, god damn it, it didn't make me a Warlock main, but it definitely made me play Warlock a bit more than I normally do.
He's
And if
right,
it comes
same.
back, who knows, man.
I am
Other
a Warlock
exotics,
main,
though,
so that's
Wings of Sacred Dawn,
just me not being a
Bell
PvE
Winners,
main.
as well as Boots
Just
of the
saying.
Assembler and others, are receiving some nice
Okay.
quality of life buffs, as well as just outright buffs. Point is, guys, we've got some major exotic changes that are coming that are really going to mix the sandbox up and Edge of Fates. Now, there are a few things that I do want to bring up that are going to hurt. For instance, Sanguine Alchemy is receiving a 10-second penalty before its perk activates after swap. You see, Bungie is taking a hard stance against loadout swapping exotics, and this is just an extension
Bungie?
of the not swap solution Bungie has
Why?
implemented
I mean,
in in-game content.
can't really
Another thing to keep
have
in
an
mind
opinion
about
on that. I
exotic
don't
armor
really hot
pieces,
swap.
like I mentioned above, stat-wise, they will be the equivalent of Tier 2. Bungie plans on expanding exotic functionality next year, but for the time being, they will be a slight detriment to our stat totals until a new system is in place. We covered this in the most recent interview between game director Tyson Green, CB Gray,
Really good video.
assistant game director Robbie Stevens,
But,
as well
like,
as Milo. And if you
tap
want more
into that in the
information on
future.
that, we'll have a link to that video down below.
For some
Another thing that's
nostalgia
also
and-
changing here in our sandbox is the stunning capabilities on certain exotics has been streamlined to be more, as Bungie put it,
A little bit more,
understandable.
information
A
about
direct
the
quote
future of
here is that
Destiny.
weapons that intrinsically have the anti-champion symbol in the weapon cannot receive anti-champion capabilities from the artifact or from radiant-like effects. Otherwise, they can receive external anti-champion capabilities and be able to continue their subclass firm anti-champion capabilities. So when you check the exotic of your choice, if a champion symbol is present, you will not be able to stun multiple champion types. Matter of fact, this is something that Bungie really went out of their way for. They don't want you to have the ability to stun multiple champions with a single weapon. And look no further than the nerf to the Stasis Shatter effect. Stasis Shatter effect will no longer stun unstoppable champions in Edge of Fate. It'll now stun overload champions. Now, this has more to do with Chill Clip, but also more to do with Tenacious. You see, Tenacious is a rocket-assisted sidearm that has become arguably one of the most used weapons inside of PvE for obvious reason. It's good. It's got Chill Clip. It's slow, can stun overload
Isn't this from,
champions.
Iron Banner?
It's Shatter, can
I'm pretty sure you
stun
can't obtain
unstoppable
this,
champions.
sidearm
And if you
anymore.
have anti-barrier sidearm, it can stun barrier champions.
That's
It
why
was the
PvE enjoyers
trifecta,
love this
the one
sidearm
and
so
only
much.
weapon you needed in GM Nightfalls,
Chill Clip
because it
and then
had
that
the ability to stun and deal with all
artifact
champion
mod.
types.
Makes
Bungie,
way
though,
more sense
doesn't
now.
want that. Hence these changes above. Change number 14. This one is a little more long-winded,
6 more to
guys,
go.
but I gotta talk about it. And that's just
Let me know in the
sheer
comment
amount of
section what
perk
change so
changes
far
we
you've
have
been
coming to
enjoying.
us. So much
Before we
here
get
is
to the
being
last 6.
touched. Reconstruction is getting a buff where they increase the amount of ammo transferred per activation from 10% to now 25%. Paracausal Affinity is getting a quality of life buff. Kinetic Tremors is getting a buff on different archetypes, most notably high-impact auto rifles, but also on hand cannons. 1-2 Punch will now work with all melee abilities. They've also done a perk active time increase from 1.22 seconds to now 3 seconds. Close to melee is getting its damage bonus increased from 30 to now 60%, hence why legendary glaives are going to be doing more damage. Attrition orbs. They've increased the perk progress by 20% across the board. But get this, they've reduced the perk progress by 80% with aerial denial grenade launchers. Now, they mentioned this is surprisingly not as noticeable as it sounds. We'll see. Now, if you're wondering why they're doing this, they're definitely targeting Velocity Baton, which is a grenade launcher that's an aerial denial frame that has attrition orbs. Now, they've also done a change here to Eager's Edge plus Valiant Charge. Essentially, it's a nerf inside of PvP, but a buff inside of PvE. Now, Chain Reaction is getting a number of changes. Number one, thread links created by weapon perks will no longer activate detonations from Chain Reaction, but Chain Reaction, Dragonfly, and Firefly, which are AoE damage perks, will no longer use weapon archetype scaling against combatants, but instead use a new perk damage scaling that is more normalized between different weapon types. Now, this buffs many weapons with these perks. And you can see these damage buffs right here. We're talking astronomical numbers. 41% on fusions, 43% on submachine guns, 47% on auto rifles, a whopping 165% on linears, 123% on swords. These are pretty massive, fellas. So if you're looking through your vault and getting rid of things with Chain Reaction, Dragonfly, or Firefly, you might want to hold off. Change number 15. What's a new sandbox without a load of ability changes? My God. Consecration is getting slapped around, primarily on Prismatic, for obvious reasons. Drinker's Lash getting a buff. Storm's Keep is getting a slight nerf where you cannot stack multiple barricades together to give you more stacks PvE of changes, obviously. They've also done things for Titan, like increasing the target acquisition and tracking on the shield throw melee. We'll see how that sticks. Hunters. One of the best things that Hunters is getting in this next sandbox, and I've actually seen people say this is a nerf, but guys, this is such a massive buff. Gambler's Dodge, which gives you your melee energy back when you dodge near an enemy. This is being changed. Melee energy return no longer requires dodging near an enemy. Now, you will have to build into the stats. I think you have to be 70 or higher, which is really not that bad. The point is that you can dodge anywhere. You don't have to be next to your enemies.
What? You can dodge anywhere? Do you know how broken this melee is? I don't know about PvE, but this is like an auto track melee. Like, hello? I mean, I don't think it's Celestial Fire in its prime, but do you know how much damage this does? I'm pretty sure if you get one tap to the head by a hand cannon and melee, you're pretty much dead, or you are dead. This thing auto tracks. Are you serious? Oh, great, Bungie. Give Hunters an absolute freebie on this one. Hello? Now I'm going to get strand melee from freaking Narnia.
So for my hunters out there that like to spam their melees and knife me from across the map, well, there you go. You now have more opportunities. Outside of that, there is some fragment slots.
Bungie loves hunters. That's Bungie loves hunters. Bungie loves hunters.
Gunpowder Gamble is getting a buff in terms of reduced
self-damage. I'm a hunter main, but oh my.
Final blows of all
if I was
kinds.
a side main right now, I'd be punching
progress on your mark aspect is getting a buff. Ascension will now be able to activate the following perks.
I am a warlock, but only on occasions now.
Outreach, distribution, bomber, and dynamo, as well as exotics like Heart of the Most Light on the class item and Gerfalcon's Reserve Overshield. This is a big buff here to Ascension, guys. For my warlocks, there are some nerfs to start off with. Hellion is getting its fragment slots decreased from 3 to 2. Bleak Watchers going from 3 to 2. However, Weaver's Call, both on Prismatic and Strand, can now generate threadlinks on any final blow instead of just Strand final blows.
Let's go.
Pocket Singularity is also getting some very odd buffs, which I guess is good, but I'm personally never going to use it. Outside of that, guys, there's a bunch of general ability changes. We're getting an increase in grenade damage against bosses, mini bosses, and champions by 15%. For these grenades, which is pretty nice. And yes, Forerunner, the rock grenade is actually included. Honestly, Bungie, you really should just make that nade almost like a mini nuke. Like, it just needs to do a tremendous amount of damage. Other ability changes, Devour is getting a nerf. Another one. Devour heal amount is going from 200 to 140. Strand suspend duration has been increased from 5 to now 6 seconds. Stasis, like we mentioned above, shatter damage will now stun overloads, as it will not have any abilities to counter unstoppables. And Flux Grenade. Bungie has significantly reduced base cooldown time, and they've increased projectile size to make it easier to stick targets. Let me just say this, Flux Grenades are a one-hit kill inside of PvP, and dude, they're pretty good. Depending on this change, man, this really may become uses Flux. Change number 16. PvP, the first time ever, well, really not the first time ever, but for the second time ever, we are going to have a dedicated controlled area to test everything we
This
just
is the
listed
coolest
above.
part about
That's right.
Educate. I'll
Bungie is
agree.
giving us the firing range. Now, granted, back in the day, we had a place we could test things out, and that was actually called the Tribute Hall. Now, that got sunsets, but it wasn't perfect. The firing range here is definitely everything I could have asked for. We're gonna have the ability to spawn literally every enemy type in the game, from minors to majors to subjugators, hell,
What about
even
PvP?
champions. There are so many different settings we can choose from.
No
There's
PvP?
even a laser on the side that if you want to test damage resist, you can just stand in it to see how long it would take for you to die with whatever buff you may have. Now, are we still going to be doing damage testing and things like Greg and Templar? Perhaps. I do like how definitive Templar is,
probably
especially
game-changing for
in
the
that
quality of
small
life.
time frame. But I can't deny the
for
fact
Destiny,
that
for
the firing
changing-
range is going to be so easy
Or, sorry,
for
weapon
literally
damage
anyone
testing
to
and-
go inside of, for folks to mess around with. And this was definitely something
And just, like,
I
target
didn't
practice.
expect Bungie to give us.
Yeah,
I
I
know
didn't
we've been
expect Bungie to
begging
do
for
that,
it for
yeah.
years,
Bungie to do
but I'm
that,
happy
sorry.
to say it's finally here. Change number
Should've got that
17.
sooner,
Now, you
though.
may have noticed by this point that the damage numbers here look small. No worries, fellas. This is intentional. Bungie is squishing our damage numbers. Not only that, we're also going to be seeing a huge change in our Guardian power. This is going to be reset down to 10. Our new base power cap will be 200. And beyond this point, gaining power will function similar to how it was in the past. However, instead of being driven by just XP, in the Edge of Fate, seasonal bonus power will only be tied to your weapons and your armor, not the seasonal artifacts. By completing harder challenges in PvE or challenging yourself in competitive or trials for PvP, you can earn gear with greater amounts of seasonal bonus power. And this will increase your level beyond the power cap, which can then be infused to raise the power level of the gear that you want to use. So from 200 and up, you'll be working towards the pinnacle cap of 450. And this will be further increased to 550 when Ashen Iron drops. Along with the power level change, damage numbers, as you've seen, are squish. Now, Bungie, the way they explain this is that numbers just don't make sense inside of Destiny. You may jump into an activity and do 10,000 damage.
Yeah,
you may
they
jump
don't.
into another activity, seamlessly hitting the same combatant, but doing 100,000 damage. One of the reasons Bungie is making this change is they want the numbers to be the same across the entire game, and squishing things down is part of that solution. Change number 18. Now, this is probably going to surprise you that I'm throwing this on as a change, but it is a big change. For the first time ever, we are not going to depend on RNG to drop us ammo, as in our ammo is going to be deterministic. Starting tomorrow on your HUD, you're going to see
I didn't
an
notice
ammo
that.
generation
I
bar
didn't notice
that's
that.
going to be live and below
It's
your
hard to
weapons,
see it bottom,
and they're going to
but it's
represent
like-
special
it
and
shows
heavy.
you how
They're gonna
close you are to
function
next heavy
similar
ammo
to
and
abilities or a
special ammo.
super.
I like
You
this
see,
change.
kills and assists with anything will now progress these bars, and then once full, securing a kill will drop a brick of ammo matching that type.
See, this is
Weapons
a
will now
universal
have
change I
ammo
like.
generation stat that's built in. Scout and
PvE
reserve
and
mods are
PvP
being
players enjoy it
deprecated,
because
and instead both finders and
obviously
new
it's
ammo
disabled in
generation
Crucible,
mods
but
will feed into this
makes
new system,
PvE more
allowing you to
fun
really
for
build into your ammo
us
generation
PvP mains that
instead
don't
of
really
being
touch
at the
PvE, and when
mercy
we
of
do,
RNG. It's a beautiful change, guys.
have a little bit more
Hopefully,
direction
it
than
won't be too stingy. Now,
the unknown,
change number
since we don't play as
19.
much.
The reward pass is receiving a bit of a shakeup as well. You see, the
reward
pass has
pass.
been reduced in
Universal
price
change.
to 1,000 silver, and all rewards can be earned day one, as in there's no more time gating. Now, of
Thank
course, I don't
you.
know what's all going to be on the season pass, but if you play this past year, you've seen things like exotic catalysts being time gated. We couldn't get them until the second act.
Yeah, that was pretty
should no
frustrating.
longer be an issue. Now, there will be 4 season passes total throughout the year
4?
process, that being 1 pass per update. Now, Bungie is also reworking season pass boosts to work inside of the portal. The ones we know of are activity score boosts, prime Ingram boosts, weekly challenge boosts, and a generic XP boost. Now, the premium track armor rewards have also been reworked so that players will acquire a full set of both PvE and PvP armor. Now, those who just have the free track can obtain 5 pieces split between the 2 sets of armor, allowing free players to unlock a partial set bonus for each. Now, lastly, the reward pass is being reduced back down to 100 levels, but the rewards are supposed to be a lot better. Additionally, there will be 10 extra levels beyond level 100 that require 500,000 XP each to unlock and can only be acquired through gameplay. No, you can't buy these. And let me just say, 500,000 XP each, hot damn, that is a grind. Now, throughout the
That is a
season,
grind,
there will be more
but
reward passes present during events, such as
we'll see how
Arms
it plays
Week and
out.
via
I
the
wanna see
seasonal
it's
hub.
overwhelming,
Bungie
but
plans on hosting more events throughout the year, so
I think
while,
it'll be
yes,
fine for
our
us hardcore
seasonal
players.
pass
I don't
is
know about
getting
more
condensed,
casuals.
There will be
Especially
other
people that
methods
have a lot
of
of
earning rewards
less
in a
free
similar
time
fashion.
than
This takes
full-time
us
content
to our
creators
20th and final change.
hardcore gamers.
Fellas, we're getting the red subclass.
What?
That's right. The subclass
What?
you all have been speculating
Huh?
now for years. It's happening. It's going down. Yeah? Now, I know some of you I had for just a brief moment. No,
Wow,
fellas, we're not
Aztecross.
getting a red subclass.
What the
We're getting
fudge?
something better. Economy changes. When Edge of Fate launches, we're getting a bit of a shift in our economy.
Hey,
You see,
what?
core game activities,
Huh?
solo ops, Fire Team ops, Pinnacle ops, Crucible, and Trials of Osiris is going to become your primary source for Glimmer, Strange Coins, and Masterwork materials.
I'm so
These
broke on
rewards
Glimmer nowadays,
will scale
guys.
alongside your gear, with
It's
better
insane.
rewards dropping from higher difficulty content. However, better rewards
the
will
hammer
come
exotic
with
looks
a
so
greater
fire.
cost. Higher tier gear will cost more to
I can't
master
wait to
it,
use
and
it.
as the power
Anybody
gap
else?
between two
Am I right?
pieces
Am I
of
right?
gear
No.
increases, the
I'm
cost
using
of
it.
infusion will scale.
Look at that. That's gonna be
Destination
me in the
materials
future.
are also being completely deprecated.
Once I played
so make sure you
Titan
turn
for
those into
hours and
Raoul.
hours
There's also a ton
for
of
that one
different
RNG
pricing
drop.
changes from our different
Actually, no, I
vendors.
can
Vendors like
probably get it from the
81 and
Cryptar.
Zur, who are going to be offering a rotation of legacy weapons from Nightfalls and the Brave Arsenal. And
Look
if
at
you're
that.
looking to get 20
Absolute
free
juice.
exotics, Ada is going to be giving
It's just
those
like he
out for
can't
free
miss.
when Edge of Fate launches.
Whose
Now, I will
gameplay
say,
is
if you're
this?
looking to get rid of your Assyrian
This
and
is early
Nightfall
Edge of Fate
ciphers,
gameplay
there
for
won't
sure.
be any use
I
for
wonder
them in
who
Edge
this
of
was.
Fate, but Bungie did hint that these will have a use come Renegades. We just don't know what that's going to be yet.
I am excited
so
for
guys, that's it.
Renegades.
Those are your 20 changes coming with Edge of Fate. I know, I baited you at the end. I almost feel bad with the whole red
did bait me.
subclass talk, but don't worry, guys.
did bait me,
I'm sure it's
Aztecross.
going to happen someday,
Someday.
one day. Destiny 4 maybe. Who
Maybe
knows?
on a Monday.
Worst case
Never
scenario,
on a Monday,
we'll get
actually.
it in Destiny Rising. Either way it goes, guys. We will be playing Edge of Fate over at our stream at twitch.tv/Aztecross. We
He's the
will be
GOAT.
giving copies of Edge of Fate away all day tomorrow. If you want to jump in, see what the content is, or potentially snag a key for yourself, we would love to have you come by. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
Slap that like.
All right, I just gotta say, I'm really excited about the armor changes the most, like the stat rework. This is the main thing I'm excited about because it's just gonna be pretty much new builds. Like, you know, we got stuff that gives us more direction, like he said, like health mods, grenade, like in the, you know, quote unquote 200s. That's the biggest change that I'm excited about, and I want to see how it plays out in the Crucible. The reason why I wanted to watch this video is because there's so much information going out, and Aztecross is always direct, and he gives us a little bit more direction, like right away. His team does a lot of good research, so I wanted to check out his video. I haven't played the campaign fully yet, just because I wanted to just see what other people are doing and not really rush it, because I'm not doing the day one raid compared to other people that are doing the day one raid. And that's like the main focus right now. Week one is how do I get ready for the day one raids. I'm sure there is going to be plenty of videos coming out, probably from Magdix or Salt or Greppo and other really big YouTubers and tryhards in the community that are going to publish those videos. As someone who is very neutral and does PvP a lot, I wanted to see what was going on in the entirety of the community or what to get to right away. And perfect video to react to. I am definitely more in tune what's going on, and I'm going to just play it by ear. And yes, you heard me. I haven't really deep dived initially in the campaign too much, because this is one expansion where I want to just take it easy and slow and not really speed run it. I want to take my time because I want to enjoy it fully. I feel like if I speed run it, I'm not going to really get as much content out of it as I want to, and I'll just end up in the comp playlist since we have no trials for 2 weeks. So I'm really taking my time with this and just kind of vibing. You guys let me know how you're feeling about Edge of Fate in general and what was your best looking change in this quality of life update. I am looking forward to Renegades a little bit more than Edge of Fate, but I'm still happy for Edge of Fate, and I hope the day one raid is absolutely amazing, because that's what I think the big hype is right now. And thank you guys for watching my content. I hope you guys enjoyed my reaction to the Mr. Big Aztecross, and let me know down below in the comment section what change are you guys looking forward to the most, and where you're at in terms of Destiny 2 and Edge of Fate. And if you're just kind of just not playing the game right now, let me know what you're doing nowadays. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hey you, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel or keep watching. But if you guys subscribe to the channel and we get 51,000 subscribers, I'll recreate this outro wearing this pink wig. So subscribe to the channel or keep watching. Thank you.